Tango is the music of two towns, Buenos Aires and Montevideo. Buenos Aires and Montevideo are twin towns across Rio de la Plata. They are 147 kilometers apart across the river, which in miles, I don't know how long it is. Sorry, 147 kilometers, you will need to do the research. But it's close. In the old times, a boat would cross from Buenos Aires to Montevideo every night. And at the same time, another boat was going from Montevideo to Buenos Aires. And crossing that huge river would take the whole night. And tango orchestras would come from Buenos Aires and going from Buenos Aires to Montevideo across the Rio de la Plata every night. Tango is music that comes from several different sources. The influence of the folk music of Rio de la Plata, the music of the Pampas, especially the milonga, very popular in the countryside in Uruguay, very popular in the countryside in Argentina, was brought to the suburbs, to the city, to the outskirts of the city, and that was one of the elements to give birth to tango. Other element, of course, was opera, zarzuela, all the singing coming from Europe, all these very inspired melodies, whether Spanish or Italians. Other element that very few people take in consideration is the influence of Central European violin players, string instrument player. Most of them were Hungarian, Poles, Russians. Many of them were Jewish migrants coming from Central Europe with this tradition of a very intense tradition of playing string instruments. Still today in tango, when it comes the part that we play really in a very romantic way, in very lyric way, the author or the arranger put play gypsy. Play gypsy because that's the style of Central European playing. Other element is, of course, the African element. Tango is an African word. Tango has a strong, remote but strong African influence in the rhythm, in the dance, how the dance started. And the fact that the word tango is African, the fact that the word canjenge, canjenge is what we call a tango when that tango is very rhythmical. Canjenge means melting with the music in one of the languages of the Congo, for example. There are many words in the tango slang that are of African origin. And then imagine that. Italian, Spaniard, Central European, and African roots, everything mixed, and that's the tango. Plus the influence of the times, of course. When movie music was very important after the 1930s, that type of music also influenced tango. Jazz influenced tango. Classical music, when the tango musicians started to study more formally, also influenced tango. And at some point, tango did the transition from the stage of the clubs to the stage of the symphony halls. And that happened especially with Astor Piazzolla and other musicians in his generation and after Piazzolla, in which, as we're going to see, tango became mostly a part of the new type of classical music or concert music in the whole world. Then tango is rooted in the, I would say, the outskirts as well as the bad areas of towns as Buenos Aires and Montevideo, the red districts of Buenos Aires and Montevideo, became later accepted by society, even later became accepted by the world, especially by the success of tango in Paris and New York. And in a later time, after some defeats, rock and roll was really a different moment, difficult moment for tango. But after the 70s, 80s, 90s, tango became accepted again by the world in a different shape, called new tango. And all that process is going to be described for you, and you are going to be able to watch and to listen to what happened to tango, this very, very fascinating genre over 100 years of history.